Hello there, dear friends. Welcome back to Dee's World and another video of, a book. So this book is about a girl named Wiska, the Diary of Wiska Wildflower. And the author is Harriet Muncaster, that is, sorry. Now as you can see, this is a girl that loves art. She loves comfy spaces. She loves her draglet, who is her pet, and she also likes hot chocolate. I love hot chocolate as well. She is born from a crystal in Acornia, and this crystal is very special. She was born in tinsel, which is not the rarest, but it's still a good one. So this book talks about how she is a girl in Wiskling Woods, and she first was born in, as you can see, Acornia here. But this book talks about how she moved all the way to Twitching so that her parents could buy a small shop there and live. She talks about how she misses her best friend Luna, and she always wanted to go back. She says she's very upset about it, but she never had a choice, so she had to come along. And it was very dreadful saying goodbye to her friend. Now this talks about how she has a draglet, as I told you, one of her favorite things, who is also her pet and always likes to eat biscuits. Funny. Now, as you can see, she's not very happy in this page, but her parents are very happy because they have finally got the shop, and they think that maybe they can finally become a spell enchanter, which means that what they do is they kind of fix blooms. Blooms are things that girl Wisklings ride on to get to other places, while the boy Wisklings ride on leaves. So, as you can see here, she talks about how she is going to a new school called Incaps. And she talks about how she still misses her friend. And she also talks about a world that she and her best friend had made together called the Twig World. Now here is where her uniform is shown, along with some small letters she has sent to everybody. So this is her first day at school. This book also talks about how she met a friend named Cleobel and Primrose. I'll show you. So here is Cleobel and Primrose. She talks about how they actually treated her like a person instead of just a shadow in the school. She also learns their favorite things. For example, the whiskey magazines. And she also learns about everybody in the class. And she says that first a boy named Twig showed her around. And she was very happy about it. But later she realizes there's a fashion show coming up in their school and all over the Wiskling Wood. And so she decides to participate for the fashion show. At first she makes her own ideas, but then Primrose and Cleobel insist that they do it together. She gets a bad idea about it, but she thinks, what could go wrong? And so she continues hanging out with them. And one day she decided, maybe I should just go my own way. But then she thought, then what would Cleobel and Primrose do to me? And I wouldn't have any more friends then, she thought. But she still designed some more dresses for her small doll named Tulip. So later she talks about how there's this book in her library called Wiskling Magic, Book of Wisklings. And it's for spellcasters like her dad is gonna be. Later, Cleobel and Primrose decide they should all start wearing bows. But then Wiska is not so sure about that. She asks them why, and she says, And well, Clearbell and Primrose say, it's because we're friends. So, the rest of the story continues. Clearbell... So, here, as you can see, Wiska is deciding that she wanted to go to the stream, but instead her friends drag her along to find some nice outfits to sketch down and to make ideas. She still sends letters to her friend Luna as well. And she also sends letters to Zinnia, who is Luna's doll. As you can see, there are many letters. And this is her art teacher here, who first introduced her to the fashion show. And this is her card to have admission. And so she makes ideas and decides that maybe she should be a giant pom-pom. Like, she makes flavors for them as well. She will be a raspberry pom-pom, Clearbell will be a lilac pom-pom, and Primrose will be a mint pom-pom. But later, they disagree with her and tell her that pom-pom does not mean that complete pom-pom it has to be. But then she decides, maybe it's best I make my own outfit. And she plans out an entire outfit for herself. And so, she thinks, until today, she says, I don't want to wear a ribbon today. It makes me feel a bit weird about the friendship. And so, she tries on her little leaf crown. And then, she thinks, will they get mad at me? And so she gets scared and puts her ribbon back on. And this here is her PE teacher, who made them run a few laps. And this here is Twig again. So as you can see, she isn't very happy about this again. In most images, she seems like a very normal Wiska. But in this image here, she shows that she is confused whether she should stay with Primrose and Clearbell or if she should do something about their friendship. So she's still sending letters. So later, as you can see, Clearbell and Primrose had planned a perfect dress without her because she had to stay at home as Luna was visiting for the weekend. And so she stayed with Luna and played with her for a while. But Primrose and Clearbell decided they'd make the dress on their own then. And so here they are. Here is Wiska and Luna together at the beach. They're having some nice snacks and just chilling. And this is her home here with the shop called Wildflower Blooms. It's a nice thing. It's a nice thing. Now, this is her dad here doing some bloom casting, which is adding a bit more magic to blooms. As I told you, they are what whisklings ride on. And as you can see here, the boy is riding a leaf like I told you. And this is the little walnut shell boat that they made for their little dolls. But later, as you can see, here Wiska is upset again. But that is because Clearbell and Primrose find her there and make fun of her for having a doll and still playing with those. And so she shows small stickers around, and she shows how she went to a small ice cream shop nearby her house to make it up to Luna, as Luna was mad that she was still friends with those jerks. And then later they went on their blooms to fly near the pink moon. And here you can see their little draglet. And so, here she talks about how she tells Luna about her different ideas for the fashion show, and she's unsure whether she should just do something else or if she should just leave Primrose. Or maybe she could still stay with them, and maybe she could just go with their idea. But Luna didn't like that idea. She only liked the design that Wiska had planned in case she decided maybe it's best to leave. And so, later, here you can see that they are mad at each other because Luna is mad at Wiska for making a decision that wasn't good, and Wiska was mad at Luna because Luna didn't trust her. even though Luna always trusted her. And here you can see Wiska is sad because she ended up looking like she had broken up with Luna at night. Even when nobody was there, she thought, maybe I should tell Mum and Dad. And maybe I should just think about it and apologize to Luna. And so she comes downstairs in her uniform and comes to her dad's shop and asks, "Can I watch you?" And he says, "No, Bloomcasters have very secret spells, so I'll just make you one, but you can't watch me." And so Luna smiles and says, "Thanks, Dad." And so her dad makes her a pink one, and her red one is a bit old, but it's good enough for her to keep riding. And as you can see here, she might be happy, or she might be sad. So as you can see, now they have actually got the dress. So they've got the whole dress plan, and they've switched the actual decision that Cleobel and Primrose made. And so Wiska is not very happy because, well, I can see that in many images she's unhappy, and I can say that she's just confused. Maybe she's confused, or maybe she actually knows what's coming. So as you can see, they've planned out this dress. And so later, she tries to send a letter to Luna, but she doesn't know what to say. And later, after that, they come around to. She comes back home after her day at school, and there was this big argument where she and Cleobel had a big argument about how Cleobel was just faking the whole thing, where she had actually made the dress. Because Cleobel told Wiska, "I made this dress, so we are going to stick with it." But then Wiska disagreed and said, "But then I thought that we were going to try an idea altogether." And so Cleobel said, "Don't be silly. We spent all weekend making this." And so Wiska looks at them and says, "You know what? I'm not with you anymore. I brought my own dress." And so Cleobel gets mad and starts yelling at her, threatening her that she would do something about it when Wiska comes on stage, maybe embarrass her. Now these are a few of the designs that others have decided to bring. But this is the one that Cleobel, Primrose and Wiska chose, even though Wiska wasn't actually in the choosing session. And so Wiska stays at night and thinks, since I've made my decision, I'm just going to have a little chocolate while I spend my night making my costume. And so she spends all night and only gets 2 hours of sleep, and she just spends the entire night eating chocolate and finishing off her costume. As you can see here, she seems happy again, and this one looks a lot like her bloom. And here is Zinnia. She's sitting at the edge of the table. And here she is painting some leaves that are for her costume in glitter. So, let's see. And she's finally made it. Isn't that such a nice dress? What do you think? Post your thoughts in the comments. And this is her entry form here, where she talks about how she wants to go with Luna. But instead, here she is, thinking, if Luna's gonna be here, then maybe I should just leave her, because anyway she called me a fake and she doesn't like my idea, so maybe I should just leave her. And so instead of going on a bloom to school, she walks. And so as you can see here, it's the argument that's happening right now. And this is the train to this big stadium this is where that she will be presenting the place. You may have thought that she's doing it in her school, but she's not actually doing it in her school. She bought a small cup of chocolate stars, and next to her, 2 girls from her class who look friendly, unlike how Cleobel and Primrose said they were very rude. In fact, everybody was rude is what they said. but they seemed very nice and kind, and they just played games throughout the time. And also, Wiska also felt very, very nervous about it. She thought, what if Luna comes ahead of me and she manages to ruin everything? Or what if she's not my friend anymore? Because Wiska had loved to be friends with Luna for a very, very long time. As you can see here, they have an unbreakable bond, and they finally meet at their place. And so, here she is passing by the changing room, coming so that she can change into her dress. And here is Cleobel glaring at her, as you can see here. And so she adds a few touches of perfume after going to the cafe and grabbing a snack. And she also compliments another girl in her class and says, wow, that's a nice cupcake dress. So the girl blushes and says, why, thank you. So here is where it gets very bad, like very bad. So in this part, she finds a note slipped under her door saying, no access. All fashion show entrants must stay downstairs. And so that's what she does. She goes downstairs. But then later she gets another note and tells her to go all the way upstairs to the tippy top. And so that's what she does. She spends 1 hour climbing the stairs. Actually, half an hour. She spends half an hour climbing the stairs, going up and up, until she reached the top room where she stayed inside. She thought, why am I here? There's nothing here. Why am I brought here? She mumbled. And so she thought, wait, something feels wrong. And so she turned around, but before anything she could do happened, all of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, the door just slammed shut behind her. She tried opening the door again and again, but it didn't work. And then she heard Cleobel sliding the key in her pocket and saying, that'll teach you, because I know that you should never have agreed with me. You know, those kids that I talked about was rude in our class. They weren't actually rude. They were just losers. And so, here, you can see that Wiska has been locked in. And just a bunch of old mannequins have been there. Mannequins, that is. Sorry. And so, she says, no, let me out. I didn't do anything wrong. But then Cleobel says, no, you have to stay in there. And I won't let you out until the fashion show is done and I am the winner. And so Wiska keeps pounding and pounding on the door, but nobody hears her because she was all the way at the tippy top where nobody could hear her. And so she slides open this little window here and she starts to ask for anybody out there. She starts yelling on top of her lungs, asking if anybody was down there, hoping and hoping that there would be a chance for her to come. And so she remembers Zinnia and a piece of paper and crayon in her pocket. And so she decides to take off her ribbon on her head, and then she ties Zinnia around it, and she puts a small note with a few words on it, and then she slowly drops it down. And so later, a few minutes had gone by, and she was scared she might miss the fashion show and everything would go wrong from what she expected. But then finally, there was a small tug at Zinnia, and so she tried to look through the window, but it would only budge a bit because it was very rusty, and it wouldn't open because nobody used to come there except for the door. And so she sent a letter saying, please help me, I've been locked in this room above. And so she slipped down the note, hoping that somebody would come. Then, as I told you, Zinnia was being tugged at. As you can see, Zinnia is this small doll here with black hair and 2 space buns, and in the same outfit as Wiska. And so she felt a small tug, as I told you, and suddenly the ribbon was weightless, and she thought, wait, somebody took Zinnia and the note. What if I'm locked here forever? And so, but later, she waited and waited, thinking maybe they were just continuing to climb up the stairs, panicked. She didn't lose hope until finally the door clicked open, and so the two judges, who were very famous people, came inside. It was Pernilla Pompom and Evangela Starfrost. She was so surprised and so happy because, well, as I told you, Primrose and Cleobel had told her that these are the two very famous people that they were always wishing to see. And Wiska was interested in them, but not very interested in the fashion and everything. And so she was shocked to find them at the door. And so they said that they loved the Wiska doll's costume, and they also apologized for taking too long. They said they had to go all the way back to the office to get the key and to come up. And so Wiska just said, "That's fine. I'm just happy you're here." So as you can see, now here are the judges, Perlina and Everfrost. And so this is the host, who is a small girl just coming to talk, pretending she was the host, and welcoming everyone and thanking them for joining. It's this girl right here, as you can see. A very funky girl, I'd say. And so she made a speech and then asked everyone to come on. And these are some of her classmates' ideas, Wiska's classmates' ideas. This is Twig right here. A girl who's sitting next to her, who was quite gothy, had also come. And this is also a friend of Twig. And so, finally, as Wiska started to lose hope that she may not find Luna and not be able to come on the show with Luna in time, she saw her. Luna was in tears, and she had just come out of the bathroom. And so Wiska thought, "Oh, this is my chance to call out to her." And so she started screaming and running down the aisle. Anyways, it was noisy, so nobody heard her or turned their head. And so she screamed and said, "Luna, you're here!" And Luna turned around in surprise and said, "Wiska!" They both gave each other a big hug. And then Wiska asked, "Will you come on the stage with me?" And so Luna said, "Yes, I would love to. I was looking for you and I almost lost hope of actually finding you." And so they both grinned at each other and said, "Well, our turn's coming up soon." And so some other kids finished their turn, and then it was time for Luna and Wiska to come up on stage. They both came from separate sides and twirled and twisted as they came on with their dresses. And Wiska said that it was the best experience she could ever have. So when she came down with her Zinnia doll, and Luna had her wait, let me check the name. And also Luna had a tulip doll, and so Luna came up and she came down. So it was a good time, she said, to Twig and another girl who was Twig's best friend standing near the stage. So they asked, "Could I see Zinnia?" But then Wiska thought, "Oh dear, am I going to have a panic attack now?" Because I've never seen anybody ask to see Zinnia. And well, since Cleobel and Primrose didn't like it, and they thought it was silly, maybe these kids would also think it's bad. But Twig and his best friend just smiled and said, "Wow, a very creative costume." Twig told her about how he loved woodwork and would always work on it for hours, and that he loved how the doll was shaped in a way that it could actually move its arms and legs. And so he thought, "You're a very good artist and stylist, by the way," he said as he left for the stage. And so, as you can see here, since Wiska is now very, let's say, confident, she is now not sitting alone and instead sitting with Twig's best friend, chatting, drawing, and how she just loved to sit next to Zinnia, calming her down, and eating some chocolate stars and chocolate balls, of course. And so as the train ride took them home, she remembered the prize and thought, "Ah, I'm very happy that I got a gold medal. In fact, I also got a certificate and the first prize," she thought. "This is wonderful. I love it." And so she decided her life was not over just because Clearbell and Primrose decided to make it over. So as you can see here, they won the whole thing. And then you can see here that Primrose and Clearbell are here. So you're probably thinking, they're here to insult her again. Why can't they just leave her alone? But instead they came up to her with sad faces and apologized. And they said, "We're sorry. We didn't mean to be mean to you or lock you up there." But Wiska wasn't falling for it. She felt sorry for them, but didn't trust them anymore, and thought, well, they didn't really do anything about it, and I know that they're just telling me this because they didn't want me to tell it off to Miss HB, who's her art teacher and the host of the program. And so she left with her golden trophy. She came back home in a very big amount of joy, and when she came back, she realized, maybe I made some proper friends now. And her friends were Twig and his best friend. And so they played with each other. They decided to go to a stream for a small swim, and so that's what they did. Since it was September, they still put their coats on. And so when they came in, they saw Twig was also joining in a small boat. Wiska thought, "Wow, Twig, did you really make that?" And so Twig nodded and said, "Indeed, I did. It's as I told you, I'm good in woodwork. So that means that I can make anything if you like." And so that's the end of the story, and Wiska talks about how she's very happy and how it came out smoothly. And she thinks she likes this place now. And so that's the end of the book, guys. I'll just set you to the last part, and this shows us how to make miniature pencils. And here you can see that all you need is a toothpick and some sketches. And now, as you can see, many things. And this is the author, Harriet Muncaster. Okay, that's it for this book. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye friends. See you in the next video.